Okay, session number 5. We are going to finish the examples started in session number 4 about the templates in the web manager. We created a template before. I was mentioning that I have do some changes. In the case of the aliases, we have changed this. Is not the current situation. We have changed it to simplify our items. We are changing to this. So this is the right situation now. Okay, the alias, and this is the previous one. So we are not going to use the floor anymore in principle because the floor is included in the room number. So it's really not necessary, and we can simplify our work. So this is affecting our template, but you will see how easy it is to change this because we have created some templates here. And the item was different, so now it should not be working because the item is not present. It should be giving some errors. The item is not including the floor number, so I can just save this and apply the templates again to the trends. So it's just again apply the template here. Okay, I have the file, so it's not necessary because the number of the floor and room is the same. Yes, it's exactly the same. Yeah, exactly the same. This is exactly the same values because it's applying in the room number, so it's not different. So I have to import it, but it's going to be an updated of the. No, we don't add, we update it. It's fantastic. So it's finished, and my temperatures are again working with the right definition now. So we have updated that. Okay, so we may take a look on that, and we got the values before. It's they are still historized, so it's okay, it's perfect, no problem in this case. So it is it's a good example because it's the way that we can solve any situation. You may have to do some change in this template or whatever, and it's easy to do. And now my items have been simplified a bit more even. So it's now it's just one folder per room, and it's fantastic. It doesn't mind. It's very easy to order and to find a room in a hotel. Even if you have hundreds of rooms, it's easy. So let's create a new template. I will create now a template for the alarms. I was thinking how many things I have to show an alarm. There is a lot, but to create a template, I need massive number of things to show you how easy it is to do this. So the only thing I have massively in my practical boards are lights. I have a lot of lights. So I will create a template, if you don't mind, for the lights. It's a useless case because you don't trigger an alarm because a light is on, but it's just an example for you to understand how easy it is to create several alarms. So we will do it also this way. So let me maximize the window. And to create an alarm for a template for an alarm is very simple also. You can just put a name, alarm, lights, example. Okay, it's an example. The path extension. Okay, let me create a folder that is alarms with a subfolder for the lights. And here I will create a folder for every room. And then I have to define the variables. In this case, it doesn't have to be exactly the same name because these variables are not the same variables as for the other template. It's not necessary to use the same names for the variable. The concept is the same, but here you can use any kind of name, any kind of definition. You can say, okay, the variable floor is floor, the variable room is room. Why not? It's just a bit more text. So I will put now this way, the variable for this for this template because it's a different template, so variables can have a different names, but of course the concept is the same. So alarm, the name of the alarm, this is the alarm for the light, and here we have a different thing because we have different lights. So for the light L at room, and I have the possibility to include, I'm sorry, this at this room. If you want, we can simplify it again, just setting F and R for the floor and room, because at the end it makes nonsense to waste time with these things. It's F, L, and R. So it's alarm for the light L at room, whatever. Okay, we can even classify the alarms per light. It's possible because you just have to put in the path extension which light you are using. And this is interesting because at the end, one alarm has conditions, has actions, has the definition for the alarm. So it's a lot of things. If you mix everything in the same folder, we have a lot of. So it's not a problem. Even if it's not a problem to change this path extension and re-import again the alarms if we are confident with that mixing. But I will create now this way, and then we can decide. Okay. The priority for this is just info. For example, remember it's just an internal classification of this. And then the condition, okay, light on. We can also indicate which light in which room, but it will be inside a folder, a specific folder. So it's really not necessary. But if you want, it's not a problem. Light L at room, whatever, on. Okay, this is the name of the condition. No delay in this case, and I can select the condition. It's very simple. It's a comparison equals, and I will get the status of the light. So I go to alias, and the first room, for example, I go to the lights, and I get the first light, any of that, and I only have to change this is the floor, this is the room, and this is the light, because we have different lights, okay? Hall, ceiling, bath, left, right, bed. We have 6 different lights. And the value is Boolean. It's I made a mistake, sorry. I have to select not this, but the status. It's my mistake. Sometimes I do. The status of the light is the one I have to take. Status, not the on-off. Okay, something happens. I'm not perfect. Okay, and the light. Now it's okay. So if you want to create an action on appear, it's possible. Why not? We can say Telegram and the definition of this action is also interesting to distinguish well. Telegram when light is on is just this, and the logic for this action is one predefined that we have, sorry, messenger Telegram message, and the profile is the same. We're using the same bot, on the string is the light L at the room is on, for example. And on vanished, the name, I copy paste this fantastic option Thank you, Microsoft. And my Telegram definition is using the same profile. Okay, for example. Well, not necessarily a single shot on time program because it's Boolean. I save it and we have defined the alarms with 3 variables in this case. So my Excel file will be a bit more complex, but let's do it. Let's go here. Let's go to alarms. This is the alarm list. It's not here. It's not here the place to do this. You have to go to the engine icon. So here is where I will apply my template. And the only alarm template I have is this, and I have L, F, and R. So it's different things to use. So I need a template to fill it. I open the template and I have to fill it with values, numbers, etc. It takes us a small amount of time. I just need to know the name of the lights. I know it, but if not, we can check. But it's hall, it's bath, it's left, it's right, it's bed, and it's ceiling. I have to write it well because if not, it will not work. This is for the first floor and for the first room. Okay, so we need to copy and paste this and copy paste, and now we have the same for same floor, but here change the room. So we should do this. I think it's better. To work with the rooms first, and the rest will be easier. 6. And 6. Now it's easier because we have this, and we have this, and this is to copy much easier. I can copy this for the second floor. I can copy this for the second floor. And I just have to do this and this to fill it for the second floor. So we have 48 definitions. Here, 6 lights, 8 rooms, 48 definitions for the floors 1 and 2. So alarm lights example Excel template is finished. I just have to select it in order to, I select it in the downloads folder. I have all the elements here, and I just have to import it. Okay, so we have 48 alarms, including 48 conditions and double amount of actions. In the folder called alarms, inside a folder called lights, for every room and every light considered in the room. And this is very interesting because I have classified per room the alarms, and in the alarm list, I can also filter by that, because if I have all the alarms, I can have the whole alarms here, but if I select or pre-select a room, here I will have only the alarms for this room. It's very interesting. If you see here, you can the alarms only for this room. So let's check it. Let's check it. Let's open the Telegram desktop. Okay, and let's play with this. For example, using my broadcast for the whole amount of lights. So I will put this outside to show you better this. Rock and roll. Okay, so you have here alarms for this room or for all the rooms. Depending on what you're selecting, you will get more or less information. You can acknowledge everything at the same time, but all these elements here, if I turn off all the lights, you're getting all this information, and all these alarms is going to vanish. Only one is left because it takes a bit more time for one specific light to turn off, but it's everything. It's in the old history. Okay, all of them are vanished. So it's working fine. We last a few minutes to define 48 alarms and to test it and have all these messages. I think it's a useless example, okay, but it's working fine. It's the light hall, the light bath, the room specific. So it's the variables is working fantastic. So it's really nice. Okay. It's really interesting functionality. And then remember, this will be also be able to visualize, to be visualized in the visualization. So it's also interesting. And finally, we finish these examples with about the templates, creating also calendars. For example, I will create calendars for the lights. So I will create a template for a start-stop time event for the lights. Why not? Exactly the same idea. Light calendar is the name of the template. Okay, the path extension 02 events, for example, backslash lights and backslash per room, for example. So we need to create again our variables. Why not? F floor air room. So we have here, and then we need to create a specific calendar per light. So it will be mixed there, all the lights. And the name of the schedule is schedule for light. There is L for the light at the room, and we can also use these variables. It's very simple. Different actions. Yes, start action is turn on the light. Let me put here on first because it will be ordered by name, so it's better to have it this on light that room wherever, and then we go here. I want to write. It's very simple. It's just to write something in an item. The item is, in this case, it is the on-off, not the status. In this case, we wanted to turn on and off the light, so we just change this and this And at the end, the light is also a variable because we have 6 different, and the value in this case is 1. Or even true. If you write the word true, it should work. Stop action, off. Of course, we could also use different things, not only the on-off. We could use the value, for example, and in the schedule send the light to 30% at a specific time and to 20% at a different time. So it's not only basic things that we can use. We can use whatever item we have behind. So it's more complex than we normally use. We can use all the complexity, no problem. In this case, is the same item, so we can copy and paste. And the value in this case is 0 or false. We can also write false. The timing is not important. It's just for us to test, but I will say this, for example, and I can save. This is the template for the lights. Okay, is the template. So we just have to go here and apply my schedule. Apply the template. And this is a curious thing, because if you remember, we have a file for the alarms that has exactly the same values for light, floor, and room. Why not to use this file? Let's check if it's working. But because it's exactly the same values, so we can use, why not? Just checking, and we don't have to do it again because we have one file, one Excel file. The name is not important, but we can use it and save time for this. So it's very productive. And we get 48 start to stop time events with double amount of actions because we have start and stop actions. And we have it here, classify by per rooms. So fantastic. We have and classified with the names. I was a bit smart changing the names because it's schedule is at the end. And if you want to see in the folder, you'll get all your calendars, say per week, no, per month. And you have you can change the colors, of course, of every of these, and the end customer can also change the color. And the agenda is much, I think, easier. And if you want, you can change the color. You can edit the event, and this light can be, instead of green, can be red. So this is changing for all these events every day. So you have the possibility to change the colors, even in the visualization, and even the user, if the user have enough permissions to do this. If it's just a viewer, it's not possible. If it's a manager, it's possible. Yes. So this was the last example for the templates. So we can start now with the content of this session, that is the LaMPS module. That's very important. So I will move this. I will close also this, and I will open again my ETS 5 to remind you what was there in the project from the beginning in my project about the DALI gateways. You have some documentations in the material in near the chat. You have a brochure of the LaMPS module. It's very interesting because the LaMPS module, when you have a lot of lighting systems to control, and moreover, if lighting is DALI in its majority, it's very important not only to control the lights, I mean to send values and to change the values in a specific moments, or automatically or manually, but also to use the advantage of DALI systems on behalf of the maintenance information they get. You can get information from the lamps and the ballasts in real time with DALI. But up to now, it's typically a lot of work to do for the integrator. The LaMPS module intends to save all this time giving the integrator and the end user, of course, the opportunity to get all the information about the maintenance information, or any possible issue with lamps or ballasts with the LaMPS module. So there is two big advantages using the LaMPS module. One is the time you will save to get all this information if it's mandatory, and this is very, very important for your end customers. And second is the easy way to do this. It's very easy to get this information from DALI, because the only thing you need to know is a small amount of data points that are obligatory to integrate with DALI. So let's go to the Confluence, okay, and let's check for the LaMPS module to show you. It's just small information here. You can take a look on this, but imagine that we have to use a specific gateway from ABB. Okay, let me go there. So you have, sorry. DALI gateways, okay. So imagine that you have this gateway from ABB, that is the one I have in my installations, the one I have in my installation. So you get here the advice to say which items you need, mandatory or optional. So I need to configure object number 21 if it's the first channel, or this if it's the second channel of this gateway, and give it a group address. It's only 3, 1, 2, and 3, 21, 22, and 23, the objects that I need obligatory to configure in my ETS for this DALI. Respecting on behalf of the maintenance part, of course, if you take a look on the ETS project, I will open my master ETS small project as we saw yesterday. We have the lighting control, of course. It's not a new thing. So we have my DALI Premium, for example, and then, of course, I have everything that is controlled here. We have a lot of group addresses and whatever. But from the LaMPS module point of view, the only thing I need mandatory is this: give 3 group addresses to the LaMPS, to the group objects number 20, 21, and 22. This is what we have seen in the knowledge base for this specific gateway, and there is some advice how to do this in the documentation. Okay, so it's the only thing you need to do. And then if you have this in your ETS project, when you use the app, as we did yesterday, so this is not going to be done again, but when I have the app and I export, I just need to select this option, LaMPS export. Okay, you can see it here, this option to get the information from DALI. So what is the advantage to do this? When I import this in my KNX, and I'm going to show you, we did this yesterday. When I select import also the LaMPS data, what I am doing is exactly configuring all this information in the BMS. So the BMS has in the metering module a LaMPS module. I'm going to show you how to get this in your BMS now. And in the DALI, depending on the manufacturer, there is several number of DALI gateways, but for this gateway specifically, we will have a specific table. So you get automatically this. This is the name of the gateway coming from the ETS project. This is your the way it's organized. In this case, it's organized by gateway. This is part of the things we have to do. By default, this is the number of the ballasts. If you are using different number of ballasts, imagine that in this gateway, you are using only from 1 to 5. And in this, you are using from 1 to 5 and ballast number 8. So it's like when you are printing pages, or if in this you are using the 64 ballasts, or in this 32, you just have to put this in this column, and that's it. It's not other thing to do. In this case, we do not have any of these elements in the real installations, because my example will be different. I am going to import additionally my own DALI gateway from my house. So this will be the examples we will follow. But this is for you to show how easy it is to do this in the DALI, from DALI point of view, exporting, including LaMPS information, importing that LaMPS information, and that's all. And the only thing to do for you is to check these devices from every single channel of your DALI gateways to include which ballasts you have to monitor. Every of these ballasts is one data point to account in your license. So if you are not using, for example, the gateways B, the channel B in all these elements, you will save several data points if you just, for example, put them into the sleep. Or if you are using only from ballast 1 to 5, just do this, and well, makes nonsense to use one channel only for 5 ballast, but should be 64 or at least 40, 50 ballasts, but this is just our example. Okay, so this is also the path, NetX Online room, whatever. If you want not to include the NetX Online information, you just have to delete this, and you will get this much more simplified. In a new folder, we will check. Of course, we can also change this name. Maybe DALI Premium is enough, or even DALI, because it's the DALI of the room, so it's enough. You don't need all this information, but this is coming from the ETS project, so it's not possible before, well, or it's not interesting to delete this information in the ETS project, but you can do it here. Even in Excel file, if you have several to do, Excel file is much easier. So I will save, and while it is restarting, I will show you the ETS, because I'm interested in showing you how to export the LaMPS again for my house project. I have just DALI, and it's a project only with this management information. It's not group addresses. Only that group addresses, just one gateway DALI from my home. I can change the name of this. It's a different model. It's not premium. It's the previous one, but it's nice. And I can, for example, DALI home. And then I just this. In this model, we can take on the knowledge base, because my model is different. It's a bit different. My model is this, I think. This one. So I need number 19, 20, and 21. This is the objects I need for my specific. So this, and the rest is just because I would like to take some other tests. I have one emergency light also, so you can do some tests for my emergency light. It's DALI in my house. There's only one, but it's near the main board. this one. So this is the only things I have. The rest of the things are not included because I don't want to change things in the lighting. My wife could be against that. So I just have to export this using the app. Okay. Export this information, and I will be asked about the IP. Okay. Because I have not definition of the IP. So I told you yesterday, if you don't have any IP, you have to put here IP 00, for example, and the address. And then you get the file. So this is the file. So I have it already, so I will save it as documents. What I have to do to get this information and to do the test and show it to you in the BMS is go back to the BMS. This was already restarted, and then go to KNX and import this app file. Updating definitions, of course, and importing the LaMPS. This is important. And this is in my should be in this session file. Yeah, this is the right one. So I start and I import this information, and I will show you what we can do with this information. I did some change in one ballast, so it's giving, I disconnect something and it's giving a failure. So you will see that the ballast number 7 is in failure, and that's good because it will be very easy to find this. But I tell you in advance that we will have a failure in one ballast. I just have to restart the server. So in resume, if you have DALI and you have DALI KNX gateways, you just have to configure a bit more in the gateways in the ETS project. A bit more is 2, 3, 5 group addresses in a specific objects, and you will get all the information from the LaMPS and the DALI ballast possible failures. If you do it manually in the ETS, you will spend a lot of time, and you will spend a lot of data points also. In this case, you are only using the data points you will need. I get a message here for one specific KNX data points, definition in line 670. I think it's a new data point, 670. I will fit KNX Telegram definitions. 670 is the row, so it's easy to find. This one, emergency lice test status. Yes, it's a new one. Okay, no problem. It's solved. I don't want to reinitialize in a later time. So what happened with my LaMPS? First thing to show you is module LaMPS. These modules is, I will show you how to get all these modules. Some of these needs some license extension, some other are for free. LaMPS, for example, is a module that you have to pay an extra fee to have this. Metering also, so we are going to comment in this session both. Salto, Fidelio, Cava, Beancard that we will deal in the next session also have extra fee to pay for this. But for example, HTTP, OBIX, MQTT, or char PMS, they are for free. So Messenger is included also. So there is a lot of modules that is not extra cost. They are included in the BMS. But this is for specific lighting systems and giving you a lot of functionality, so it has an extra cost. As I showed you before, we have a table per each type of device. So in my case, this is my home device. So I see it here. Okay. Home DALI. The name was not because I didn't do it in my the file was different. Okay, I can just say here, this is DALI home. I can change it here. Okay. And I am using not the 10 ballasts. I am using in my house is 33, I think. 33 ballasts. And the rest of the configurations came from the ETS importing. So it's not necessary to change anything except if you want, for example, to trigger a test on connection or wherever, but it's not necessary because you are polling every 10 seconds. Every 10 seconds you are doing the polling for this. So it's not necessary to do this. So the question is now, I will save all. And I'm not going to reinitialize. I'm going to stop the server, and then I will reinitialize again afterwards, because I want to show you how to get these modules in your BMS platform. Because by default, if you press the button KNX import ETS app file, the LaMPS option is not appearing by default because you don't have the LaMPS module installed by default. If you get developer license from our colleagues, Stefan was also telling you yesterday in the chat that you can also ask for developer license to study and to review the videos and do the practice and show to your customers and so. You will see that by default, you have not this option, the LaMPS module. So you need to add your extensions. And the extensions can be added with the manager, the extensions manager. And you can access the extension manager in this menu, extensions, the manager, and you start the extension manager. So there is a window that is opening. Normally, you will have nothing installed. So a list of the not installed plugins will be much bigger. And in my case, as you can see, I have everything, almost everything installed. Of course, I have not updates. I have updated a few minutes ago with the last update for the GRMS. It's nothing to update, but if you have some updates, you can press here update. If you are interested in installing something, you can see also which version you need, which version you have of this module. Info is a PMS, it's a specific PMS like Fidelio for hotel management, but I'm not interested to install Info in this case. So you just have to come here and install. There is not only plugins, also for the core. You have some things about the DPT, definitions for KNX, about the reporting version, Xlogic PMS library, or whatever. So you can reload to check if there is some new to update, nothing. Okay, and this is the extension manager. So you just have to do this. And if you do some extensions, you have to close the studio. You have to close the studio and start the studio again because it's affecting the menus and on all these definitions. No change in my case. I just starting again the server, but you have to stop the server in order to see this extension manager, okay? And you need internet access. If you don't have internet access, you can from your office with access to the internet, you can export the files and then go to the customer's premises and import it. So it's really easy to handle these modules, and you have a lot of possibilities to use. The OPC UA, for example, as I showed you yesterday, or the messenger to send emails or to send tweets or to send SMS with Twilio or to send the telegrams that we have seen. It's very easy. So finishing with this first approach, I will show you the result. The result when you install the LaMPS module is really interesting. We go now to the module branch that yesterday we could not see. Module LaMPS is the branch, and we have DALI, and we have different things. Home is from my project, home, and the rest is for the rooms. At the end, if I take a look on the rooms, I have one DALI gateway per room, exactly the same, okay? I have connection, yes, to the IP, but not to the gateway, because the gateway is not present physically, but okay. If I trigger a test, it will be nothing. No, there's no information about the device, but it's okay. But in the case of my house, if I show you, there is a fault, you see here. In the DALI folder, it's indicating me there is a fault on evidence. And in the gateway, there is a fault. But the type of the fault is also here explained. It's a fault of the DALI bus? No. It's a fault in the device? Yes. It's a lamp? No, it's the ballast. You can see there. There is a ballast fault, more specifically. In which device? The device is only one. The number 7 is the only with fault. So we have here, I have defined 33, so you can see here the 33. If I show you the device number 1, it's not faulty. The test was succeeded. The device number 2, exactly the same. But if you go to the device number 7, you see that there is a fault in the ballast. So we could do the test, but we found a ballast fault. And automatically, you get this information automatically only with this small amount of time invest. But the best thing is that you can create a report, and we'll explain now. A report is the second, the complement of the LaMPS module. It's very interesting because one of the reports that we can create is a report about the gateway, and it's very easy because you can send this report automatically every day, for example, to the lighting maintenance responsible, for example. So if you get the report, you will see that there is some issue with the ballast. I think I had a report some days ago. I will try to show it to you, but we will see at the end of the last session, or maybe tomorrow, I don't remember. It's tomorrow, yes, tomorrow when we see in depth the GRMS, how to send reports, but I will try to find this. Mm-hmm. Okay. Maybe I delete it. No problem. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go to the web manager and in real time I can show you. I will show you. And then tomorrow we can do more examples of this. It's very easy. Login. And here I have my project, okay? And there is a reporting app, okay? Let me create one test folder. To create a report here, and the report instance is DALI home. Okay. The report type, there is a lot of reports created by default, but I am interested in my LaMPS gateway. And for every day, today, for example. And I have a lot of DALIs, but this is the one I want to get a report. The type can be a PDF, can be an Excel file, XLS, or CSV. Some of you were asking before if it's mandatory to use the Office suite for Microsoft. You can export in CSV and use an open Excel file, open datasheet file. So it's not specifically Microsoft always. So we are generating the report in PDF. And I will show you, this is the PDF with the report. And you can see where was the test done, what happened. I have a faulty in the device number 7, okay, the rest was okay. The next time, well, I have a fault in the device 32 specifically, and at the end, this was only a temporary fault, maybe a lack of information, but it was corrected. So it's very interesting because you have a history of what is happening every time. If you do this at the end of the day, you will have maybe 100 pages in the PDF, but you can take a look very fast what happened during the day with your ballasts. And if at the end of the day you have no failures, okay, you have to do nothing. But if you have consistently failure in the device number 7, you have to check that device. So this is very interesting to do this, or to have this kind of report, because it's a PDF that you can, I will show you tomorrow, you can send it automatically or every day to a person by email, for example. This kind of things is very, very interesting. So you just create the report instance. So you have this instance created, I save the instance, and I have it for using tomorrow. And I can take a look here if I want, no problem. This is the first approach for the reports. So only to show you how easy it is to create this report, taking information from your LaMPS gateway, of course. If I get a different gateway, I will get nothing, no information, because this is not present. And this one is because it was deleted, it's in red color. So the LaMPS module is helping us as a first approach, is helping us to do these things, this kind of information in real time. And you have everything here in resume, because it's very interesting that we have one item that is telling me you have a fault, and then is when you can take a look in which gateway. Okay, I have a fault here in the home gateway, because if I take a look in every room, I have no faults. The rooms are okay, so it's, of course, this is nothing working, but no test possible. But the fault is localized here, and then if you have different gateways, you can also find in which of the gateways is the fault, because it's easy to get this. So this is a logic done automatically by the BMS, informing you that you have any fault. So you can imagine that I can also configure an alarm with this. This is an item. Again, we are able to manage this item and the value of the item and the information that the item contains to send me, for example, an alarm, or to send me a telegram. There is a fault in the DALI. Okay. And if the fault disappear, DALI is okay again. So this is telegram message that we can do, and we now know how to do it in the web manager. Okay. And the LaMPS module about the DALI is explained and completed. We will tomorrow do some examples to send that report automatically and complete the example with that. But we have a second part in the LaMPS module that is also really interesting, in my opinion, fantastic. This is the circuit definition. It's the second part of the LaMPS module, not specifically related to DALI, but to any kind of light or even different things. That these circuit definitions as a part of the LaMPS module is very helpful for us to recognize or to get information from specific circuit about the time this circuit is being in use, for example, for maintenance reasons, and observing, for example, the limits for the current or the voltage, so you can monitor any kind of circuit about these parameters, and it's also able to calculate or estimate the energy consumption. So we will do an example that it will be very, very interesting, in my opinion, for you. So let me create an example for you. So you will see how this is working and how fantastic is this part of the LaMPS module. In my opinion, very, very interesting. So let me do the test with one light, for example, bed light in room 0101. So this will be a folder inside this circuit definition for the room. Is there an on-off item? Okay, let's say it's an on-off item for the bed. Yes, this is the item for the bed. Status also, because we will be able to monitor all this information also in the specific folder for this. So status bed. Okay. And now I am asked about operating time warning threshold. This is a limit, a value that we can fix, and then also can be changed in the item we will have. But imagine that I want to have a warning if the time this light is used 100 seconds, for example. In the real life, it will be millions of seconds because normally you are monitoring thousands of hours. But in this case, it's just for example. So we can have an advice, a warning, and also we can configure an alarm. If you exceed 150 seconds of use, you will get an alarm, for example. Okay, we can also monitor the brightness. If you want, you will have the brightness information. If it's a light that has a value control, yes, value is the brightness item, the control, and the brightness status. The brightness status, we can also monitor this item here. So up to now, we just defining values from the status percentage, from the light, from this specific light. Okay. Is there any scale factor? No, because it's defined as a percentage, so we don't need to apply any scale factor. And now we start defining the current in milliamperes, the voltage in volts, even the power, if we have it, even the energy. So energy related parameters we can put here. And if you don't know or you don't have submetering or a device that meters the current, is not important because we can indicate it as a value, estimating that this light, when it's on, it's consuming 100 milliamperes, for example, or 200 milliamperes. So we just have to put here an item to indicate this value. I don't have this item, but you remember we have some bars that we could use for this. So I can use a numeric bar, for example, and reserve the numeric bar for this. The scale factor for the current, nothing. And we can also indicate warnings, alarms for lower and higher. Imagine that you are using a circuit, a light circuit that is impossible that it consume more than 200 milliamperes. So you can put here a higher warning in 200, an alarm in 250, for example. Or even if you have several lamps in this circuit, maybe you want to have a warning if you have less than 150 watts because some of the lamps maybe have some issue, and a lower alarm in 120s. It's a big issue if you will have lost some of the tubes or some of the lamps of this circuit. For example, this is just a dummy example because this item is not real, but you can also indicate these values in order to distinguish or to identify any trouble with your element. The voltage item. So in this case, I have voltage. So the voltage of my installation is a real value. So I can use Modbus, and I am not this because the voltage is multiplied. Well, okay, it's not a problem. Voltage is multiplied 100 times, no? Tension, voltage, no problem. I have a scale factor of 0.01. That's okay. I have the voltage, and the voltage is real. It's not a problem because I have this input from the real world. I can also monitor the voltage. Why not? A warning if the voltage is less than 225, for example. An alarm is less than 220. A higher warning, okay, more than 235, it will be an issue, and more than 240 will be an alarm. And that's it. I have the current and the voltage. I have no power item ID, but I can say please calculate for me the power, because the power is more or less the current times the voltage. If I have the power factor, fantastic, because I have the active power. If I don't have the power factor, this is an approximation. So we have to consider that it's an estimation of the energy consumed. And what happened with the energy? I don't have an energy item ID, but I can tell the system to calculate it for me. So the energy is the integral calculation. So the continuous addition of the energy, the integral. So energy is the integral of the power, the differential time. So this is interesting. So let's save this and show it to you. This is a circuit definition you can use, and you will see this is useful for counting time of this element, giving you alarms about this time supervision, giving you alarms about the current or the voltage supervision, and calculating the power and estimating the energy consumption of this element. So you will have the possibility to get this information always. Let's wait some seconds. I repeat, this is an estimation, but it's useful, of course, if you have the current, the possibility to measure the current, it's fantastic. It's better if you have the possibility to get the energy consumption, of course. But sometimes you have 200 circuits and you want to give to your customers an estimation of the consumption of each one. So you can measure with a amperimetric measurement. You can measure the consumption of every circuit, take note of that values, regular values, and use it as a reference for the energy consumption. The question is that you will get this information here in your room, the bed light. You will have all this information about this. And of course, I don't have the current. Let's say, let's give the information about the current. Imagine that we have 200 milliamperes. So what's happening? It's happening that the power okay, milliamperes or amperes. 0. Okay, I found 1 ampere, for example. I think it's not working the factor. Maybe it's not working the factor for the voltage, I mean, because the voltage now is 23,000. So the factor I wrote was not right. I wrote it well. Okay, what we can do is about the voltage is to find a voltage that is really the right one. And I think I have the voltage here also. Haha. So I will use this voltage and restart again, because it was a bit bug or mistake in that the scale factor is not working for the voltage. So we have the good voltage option is good, is okay. So let's check all these things, very interesting about the circuit definition. I repeat, this is an estimation of energy consumption, but it's really interesting. Even you can do a logic in multiplying the milliamperes with the status of the light, because if you have less or more luminosity and multiplying with the power factor if you have it, and you get more real information about the milliamperes. But in this case, it's just an example, and this is the only thing I'm showing you. So 200 milliamperes. Okay, so we have 200 milliamperes, and if I go to the module, my room and my light, I will get this information, 46 watts, and this is the watts per hour consumption. Now it's going slower. And then, of course, if I turn on the light physically, because it was just a simulation, then the current, of course, if the light is off, shouldn't be 200 milliamperes, but this is just an example. But when you turn on the light, you have the counter here. If I switch off the light, the counter stops. Okay, it's stopping. Imagine that I can change also this threshold to 25, for example. You can change this. It was a parameter in the table, but you can change it on the fly, and then I start it again. So what will happen? This threshold will become to true now because we have exceeded that value. If I change it now to 50, it will again go to false because we haven't exceeded this value with this time. So this can be also used as an alarm. Okay, we have exceeded the time for this circuit for using. And imagine that you can use this, and this is very useful not only for lights. Imagine you have a HVAC filter, for example, for a coiler or a boiler or some air conditioning machines, and you have to monitor the filter time of that. You can use this for that. It's counting time. So it's very interesting also in this case. Okay, we get the alarm. Thank you. So this is the LaMPS circuit definitions. And also from here, as you have indicated the on-off and the brightness values, you can also interact with the light from here. You don't have to go to the specific alias even. So you have it here. So look, a lot of information, and you only spend one data point per each definition. And you have a lot of information, even your watts per hour energy consumption estimation. Okay, this is an estimation. So, but what we can do is to take real values. So because we have, for example, some values that they are real. For example, the current, well, I have the energy at home, so it's not really necessary. But what we can do is to copy paste this for the rest of the rooms. So you can see how easy it is to do this, because you only have to change, if you are concentrated a bit better, these values here. If you have Excel, it's faster maybe, but not for lights. It's faster to do this way. And then the next is to explain you the metering module. My goodness. Concentration is important. I'm thinking in different things, and this is also possible to change these values. Voltage is the same for all. And that's it. So we just have to save this, and we will get the information for the 4 first lights of the boards. But just an example for you. Circuit definitions, very interesting, and the LaMPS, the DALI analyze for ballast failure, LaMPS failure is really fantastic. If you have a massive amount of DALI elements, and the cost of the module is not big, it's a small amount, and there is no cost per gateway, is a cost per any kind of project you may face. So if you have one DALI gateway, it's the same cost as if you have 1,000 DALI gateways. So it's a fantastic thing. You have to count the number of data points, the number of ballasts that you may monitor, because if you have more ballast, more data points you are using, one per ballast. This is the second cost, a variable cost, but the cost of the module is very small. I think interesting for a lot of projects. In my zone, there is a lot of projects with LaMPS module and metering module. So let's take a look on the metering module. And then we finish in the last session this metering module, but I want to have a first approach to the metering module, at least defining that in the web manager. So let's go to the web manager, and again, and we will create one trending. I need information in the database. Okay, so I will create a folder for metering. And here I will create a trending for energy at home. Okay, the energy at home is coming in different items. But if you remember, maybe you remember, we had one in BACnet that was coming from a converter that was giving me my general consumption. This was interesting. Why I cannot take it? Okay, let me check again. Oh, yeah, it was in BACnet, so I need to take the right element. This one, for example, I will take all the values that you can give me, fantastic, or maybe I can take maximum value you can give me every minute. That's good also. I don't have to apply scaling because this value is correct. This value is exactly the one I need, 27,000, whatever. So this is the right one. So I don't need to apply scaling, because if I take it from Modbus, I have the same value, but this value is the same, but is 100,000 times the right value. So it's, for me, it's better to get this one, 27,871, 27,923. Well, this is a bit more accurate, but it's okay. So maybe I'm not confident if I take the real one. So let's do it the right way. Yeah, let's do it the right way. So I will take the right one, not this BACnet one. I will take it from Modbus. Okay. And then I have to apply scaling. I have to apply 0.25 4 zeros, and that's it. Every minute. Okay. Line is okay. And this is just the trending of that value. And this is important because it's not the energy analysis of the energy consumption every hour, every day, every week is not in that trending. The trending is just taking the value, and the module will be the one that calculates how much energy I spend every I waste every hour, every day, every week, maximum values, minimum values, and all these things. So, but I need a trending because I don't have, if I don't have the information in the database, the system is not able to analyze it. But the question is that it's useless to see the graphic going always up and up and up and up. So it's not useful, but it's necessary. So the first is to create the trending energy home. Okay. And then we go to the metering module, and after this I will stop. The only thing to do first is go to metering and create, and we have to create several things. Of course, a meter point, but the meter point has a resource, if it's electricity, for example, and this resource has a cost rate. So we can start with the cost rate. I will electricity and the default price. Okay, it's mandatory. Now it's a fixed value, let's say 15 cents of euro, and I ask it to have this as an item, so it can be variable, but now it's a fixed value. Okay, hopefully in the future we will have it as in the near future as possible to change name for the resource electricity. The unit, it's in kilowatts per hour, and the cost rate, we have it just created, so this was the reason why I do it first. The cost rate is the cost of the electricity. Okay, this is interesting because then in the future we will have this information. And then I will create the meter point. That's my home, for example. The trending is energy home. I have the trending, so I select it. Okay, and the resource is electricity. So it can also not only give me information about the kilowatts per hour, but also the money. The cost center is not assigned to a cost center yet, but it will be in the future. So with this, just defining this, and I'm finished, and we continue in the third session. With this, I have defined a meter, and in the BMS, I will find in my module a metering with my home. There's no values yet, but you will see how many information you can get. It's a lot of information. Let me start with the beginning. It will be able to calculate the current hour consumption, the current day, the current week, month, or year. So it will be fantastic to have this information here. Or the last, so you can compare with the last here. You can also have peaks, the maximum consumption, hourly consumption today, and the minimum, or this week, or this month, the daily consumption of the week, of the month, or the monthly, daily and monthly consumption of the year. So you will see this year, the day with most consumption was 100 kilowatts per hour. And the minimum was only 20 or whatever. So you have all this information, very interesting. It's calculated by the BMS. And you also can define limits, and this is your limit consumption of current hour. So the current hour, you can say, okay, in my house, it's not good if I have more than 5 kilowatts consumed in 1 hour. In one day, my limit is 40, for example. So if you are above this value, you will get true, and you can trigger an alarm. You are consuming more than the limit that you have considered for a week, for a day, for whatever. So 300 per week, for example. In 1 month, it shouldn't be good if you consume more than 1,200 kilowatts per hour. And in a year, it shouldn't good if you consume more than 9,000, for example. This is a more estimated values. So of course, I have no values yet, but I will have in a few time. The question is that you will get a lot of information only in one definition of one energy consumption. So we will continue this after the session, and it's good because we will have more information. So we finish now this session number 5, and I promise to finish this in the next one together with a first approach of the GRMS and the Fidelio, Salto, Cava, the hotel management software. So thank you very much for your attention, and see you in 1 hour and 35 minutes again. Bye.